What is up, guys? So, today I want to talk about why your self-talk matters, as in your internal dialogue, and why your identity matters. Because these two things are going to affect pretty much all of the outcomes in your life forever, right? What you identify as and what you believe about yourself, what you say to yourself, all these things are going to affect how you carry yourself throughout life, right? So, having good self-talk and having a healthy identity sets your standards. It sets your standards for what you will and won't accept in life, and you get out of life what you tolerate. You don't get out of life what you deserve, even what you earn sometimes. You get out of your life what you tolerate. So if you believe certain things about yourself, you'll believe that you deserve and should tolerate certain things. Now, with that said, when you start to raise your standards, people will try and keep you down. Crabs in a bucket, they're going to try and pull you down. That's just not going to bode well for like your ambitions or what you want to do in your life. So a big thing that I see that people do is when you start to have a higher estimate of yourself, you begin to get called arrogant, right? I've been called arrogant for God knows how long, and it just gets worse the better I get. So let's look at the actual definitions. I got the definition pulled up because I wanted to make this point. So arrogant, right? Having or revealing an exaggerated sense of one's own importance or abilities. Now, the key word here, and it's even underlined in the definition, is exaggerated sense. If you have an exaggerated sense of your importance, then you're arrogant. But here's where things get kind of gray, because if you don't have an exaggerated sense of your self-importance, you'll never get anywhere, right? Because even this, me making these videos is saying, hey, I believe that what I have to say is valid enough that I should put it out and publish it to the world for people to hear, and I think that this will be helpful. So that's kind of an exaggerated sense of importance, right? Because maybe it's not, maybe it is, but you have to have some sort of self-belief. Now, I'm not saying I have the greatest advice. I'm not saying I know everything and I'm better than every other YouTuber ever, but what I am saying is that I've got decent advice and I've had decent results as a result of how I've lived and how I've thought about things. So, and another thing people will do when they think you're getting too big for your britches is they'll say, hey, be humble, right? But nobody actually knows what humble means when they say that anyways. So once again, we'll go to the definition. Having or showing a modest or low estimate of one's own importance. This is almost the polar opposite of arrogance, right? If you're here, arrogance is thinking you're here, but being humble is thinking you're here. But if you have a healthy self-awareness, you at least know you're here. And if you have any sense of ambition, you're going to at least think that you're here. But being humble is showing a low estimate. So you're not only saying, like me, for example, right? I'll say I'm in shape, or people say, oh, you must work out all the time. And I'll say, yes, I do. Now, some people will take that as arrogant, but it's not arrogant when it's facts, when it's what you actually do. It might cause other people to feel insecure and then have them call you arrogant because that reflects poorly on them or their lack of effort. But really, at the end of the day, they're telling you to be humble because you should show a lower status to yourself. You should never shrink yourself for people. If people are asking you to shrink yourself or they're calling you arrogant, you're kind of in the wrong rooms. So the reason why this is so important to have this self-talk that's like a healthy, ambitious kind of self-talk is it will level set you. It's going to set your level. It's going to set your temperature. Ed Milet talks about this, about setting your temperature and about what your standards are in life. So if you don't have high standards for yourself, you're just going to accept whatever you're given. You're never going to say, no, this isn't enough, whatever. So one of the things, I got two examples here, right? One of them is when I first started working out, and hopefully I can pull up a picture of what I used to look like, right? I was super scrawny, super just not athletic looking, just your average like kind of skinny, borderline skinny fat dude. And I always had a healthy estimate of where I was at. I never said I was ripped at that point, but my point in saying this is I started, and many times I tried to work out, I tried to be successful, but I started believing in myself, and I started believing that I was a fit person, and that this working out, eating healthy, eating right thing was just something that I did. It was who I am, right? It was really, at the time, it was who I wanted to become, but it was who I am, right? And now, down the road, that kind of has become reality. Now, if I had been humble in that instance, I would have even had a lower importance of who am I to think, I can get in shape or that I can be better or anything like that, right? It would have been a bad thing. So you have to believe, you have to have a little bit of what most people would call arrogance to get anywhere. You have to have a belief that's higher than yourself. Now, where you get into sticky territory is you believe that you're a fit person, you believe that you're about that life, that you're eating healthy, but you're not actually taking the actions. I've had friends like this in the past, he's sitting there saying, oh, I just want it so bad. I just want this. I want it so bad. And I just looked at him because I was like, you don't want it that bad because you're not in here putting the reps. I don't even have to say I want it because you can see it in my actions that I want this shit worse than like anybody else, right? That I'm putting in the effort to put in the meals, to do the push-ups, to go to the gym, to do all of this stuff despite having all the other demands that life puts on you, that I want this. So in that case, he was arrogant because he wanted the results without doing the work. And another like mindset hack that I have is I've always thought to never be humble in regards to money, because a lot of people will say, hey, this is becoming too much. You're spending too much money. Why do you have all these things? Why do you spend so much, right? And that's another example of them wanting you to be humble. And I've always had it in my thought. I've kind of programmed this into my head. When I'm feeling like I don't have enough money, my thought process is I'll just make more money. If something will happen, I'll just make more money. Because what else is there to do, right? You can only shrink your bills so much. The cost of living is going to go up. Inflation is going to go up. There's an unlimited amount of money you can make, but there's a limited amount of money you can save, right? I can only cut up this pie so many times. So why try and reduce $10 a month, $100 a month, $200, $500 a month on reducing these things when I can go in the other direction and it's completely unlimited? But people will say this is arrogant, that you have an exaggerated belief of what you're going to do. But it's like, you have to have a little bit of audacity in your life. You have to have the audacity to say, you know what? Wouldn't that be crazy if I actually pulled that off? If I actually did this thing? If I had the capacity to do it? And you might not, and you might never have. But in order to even attempt, you have to believe in yourself, and you have to have enough self-talk to the point where you actually can attempt these things. If you remain humble, right, you're never going to even attempt anything, right? You're never going to attempt a pull-up. You're never going to attempt a muscle-up, because why would I? I have a lower estimate of myself. I don't even think I'm as strong as I am if I'm humble. If I'm arrogant, I think I'm stronger than I am. But if I had to choose between the two, I'd choose to be arrogant. But I'm saying there's a level of healthy arrogance that goes into ambition, because you have to understand where you're at, and you have to understand that there is a capacity for more, and that if you keep investing in the process, that you can do more and be more. But people will always try and put you in a box, take you down, bring your level down lower, because it reflects poorly upon them. And a lot of times people will take on the external, when someone talks to you, you'll internalize that, and then you'll think poorly of yourself, right? If you've been overweight your whole life, if you've struggled with money your whole life, if you've struggled with drugs your whole life, something, right? Everyone views you that way, and they're like, oh, they're just a drug addict, they're just a fat bastard, they're just a broke bum, right? And my point is, then you start to internalize that. You start to believe that about yourself. And that's where the problem becomes, because now you cannot get out of it. It becomes cyclical. You can't get out of it because you don't believe you can get out of it. You believe that's all that you deserve, and that's all you're going to get if that's all you believe. If you believe this is the upper limit of money that you are able to make, that's all you're going to make. If you believe that you can never get down to 2% body fat, you're never going to even attempt to get down to 2% body fat, right? And same thing. If you internalize that self-talk, that poor negative self-talk, you're going to bring yourself down. You're not going to bring yourself up. So you have to have that positive self-talk that definitely flies in the face of everyone else in order to get where you want to be. That's it. That's all I got to say today. You got to believe in yourself more than the rest of the world does in order to get what you want out of life.